Hey, good morning. I'm Jack Gately from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. Welcome to the Morning Real Estate Show. Good to have you here today. It is 8:43 on this Thursday morning. Looks like a beautiful morning here in beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. We have some news just breaking in the last couple of minutes. Jobless claims are out. They beat expectations. Jobless claims are expected at 214,000, and they came out at 204, which would indicate that not as many people as expected were seeking initial jobless claim benefits, and therefore that maybe the economy is hotter than the Fed would otherwise like. So that sounds inflationary to me right off the bat. GDP also came out at 8:30 this morning, just 10 or so minutes ago. And that came in at 2.1. The expectation was 2.2. That sounds like as expected. It does not sound deflationary to me. None of this news seems like, now the Fed's going to cut rates or pause rates. Everything is going in the other direction, that it seems as if the Fed is going to raise rates. Pending home sales come out later today. And what else do we have on the calendar today? Fed talk, including from Powell. I think that's at 4:00 this afternoon. So we'll see how those news develops, of course, during the day. Really glad to have you here. Hold on, my iPad fell asleep for a quick second. Let's cut to the big news of the day. And from Mortgage News Daily, mortgage rates, 30-year fixed at 7.65. 7.65. That is a new 22-year high. We already hit a 22-year high the other day when it went to 7.51. Now it's at 7.65. That's startling. The only thing that makes that look good are interest rates at 6.8, right? If you bought a house at 6.8 and thought it was high, well, now, yeah, this is much better. This is much better from your perspective. It's amazingly high. I mean, to see it jump from 0.51 to 0.65 in one day is remarkable. I've heard reports that mortgage companies were actually repricing. I mean, they always do this but repricing during the business day because rates just went up so high yesterday, Wednesday. They were multiple repricings during the day from mortgage companies. You got a quote in the morning, and by lunchtime, it was no longer good. So that's how fast the mortgage rates were going up yesterday. Yeah, so you better, I hope that you locked in before breakfast, because if you waited till after lunch, you lost a lot of money. You lost a lot of money. I mean, look at the 10-year. The 10-year this morning, yeah, wow, up again. You see it in the green territory there, plus, let's see if we zoom that in there for you, plus a couple of basis points, 4.665. 4.665. Now, if you are a regular viewer on this YouTube channel, you might remember a week or so ago I said resistance was at 4.34. And rates had a tough time when it hit 4.34. We're not budging over 4.34. But I said once it hit that and once it passes it, off to the races. And we are now off to the races on the 10-year Treasury. And by the way, why the 10-year Treasury is more or less tracks to mortgage rates is because they're both similar types of long-term debt, right? People tend to pay their mortgages. The government tends to pay its debts. Therefore, yeah, right. And so the mortgage rates typically run about 200 basis point above the 10-year. But now recently it's been more like 300 because I think people are thinking that, or lenders are thinking that the risk of default is higher for borrowers borrowing into their home. You know, mortgage business people tend to pay their mortgage, right? So it's usually a safe bet until it isn't. But to see these rates go up like they are here, this is just staggering. It seems to me that rates towards 8% or at 8% are just around the corner. I don't see any resistance in this marketplace except the federal government shutdown. That seems like a possibility, right? That seems absolutely possible. The federal government shuts down. The auto worker strike out in Michigan, or actually that's in multiple locations across the country. That's a possibility. But other than that, I mean, do you really see any headwinds on the way to 8% mortgage rates for the 30-year fixed? Now, those are on average, right? Because if you have lower credit or some type of lower risk profile, you could already be getting quotes at 8%. The 7.65 is only if you have really good credit at, so, and that's an average. As a kid, I'm sure there's quotes below that, and I know there's quotes higher than that. So I think the average for the 30-year fixed is absolutely going to 8%. I said that before the mini banking crisis that we had in March, and the mini banking crisis happened, the Fed paused, but in the end, it's the government deficits, it's the devaluation of the dollar, it's the delinking of the dollar from, and this is huge macroeconomics, from the petrodollar and other other countries like China who are wanting to move away from the dollar as the reserve currency, which is devaluing our dollar. It's effectively a hidden tax. All right, so let's move to some happier news, at least for the moment. I was really happy to see this YouTuber from, I think he's from Texas, Jason B. Miles, I think his name is. I've been watching him for a long time, and it's so nice of him. Let's move his picture up here. There's his picture there. So nice of him to get this little profile on Inman. Good for him. He's a real estate mogul and social media force to be reckoned with. Find out his best tips for putting yourself out there online. And here's his picture. And did they give him another picture? I hope they did. I don't know if they did. But in a dynamic world of real estate, traditional methods are continuously reshaped by innovative marketing strategy. One agent who sees this, I think you pronounce it as Chasten, Miles, is a real estate mogul renowned for utilizing social media. Very good. A really nice kid. I'm going to call him a kid because he's younger than I. He started his journey in 2013. So actually, we have something in common. That I started my real estate journey. I don't know if I want to call it a journey. In 2011, I guess it is a journey of some type. And that he was initially a little bit awkward on social media. If you go back and watch some of my clips from 2013 or 2011 or 2018 even, I guess I would fall into that category. So all good credit to him for getting this very nice profile over at Inman, how this social media innovator leads with authenticity. Good for him. Nice job. Well-deserved. Let's talk about Redfin. First off, let's talk about Redfin in terms of their housing market situation. This is from the Redfin blog, Redfin News. Housing market update. More home sellers drop their asking price as mortgage rates hit a 2-decade high, which we just talked about. Roughly 1 in 15, or 6.5%, of U.S. homes for sale had a price drop during the first 4 weeks of September, ending September 24th, on average, up from 5.8. So 5.8 houses had a price drop. Now we're at 6.5. So more people dropping the price. Not a huge number, but it's up compared with the same period in years past. At the same time, the median home sale price is up 3% year over year, and the typical buyer's monthly payment is at record high, with daily averages hitting 2-decade high, as we just talked about. What this means for home sellers, according to Redfin, pricing your home right is a delicate science. Well, isn't that the truth? Even though demand is relatively low, you're likely to find a buyer who will pay a fair price because there's not many homes out there. Be careful not to price it too high, or you may be forced to cut your asking price to attract a buyer. My strategy on home pricing right now is, and let me give you just a little background. I used to think, like pre 2020, we'll price it just a little bit higher, and then we'll get an offer a little bit lower, and that's what we'll sell it. So if we had a house that was worth $350, we'd price it at $370, and you'd get an offer at $355. There'd be a home inspection. They'd talk you down $3,000, and you'd sell it for $352. Everyone's happy as long as you set the expectation with the seller originally that, the target was going to be $350. You sold it for $352. Everyone happy. Those days are over because the market is so thin right now. Coming up with comps is a challenge. I'm now going to larger aggregate numbers for that profile home. I think that's a little bit more accurate because finding exact comps, finding 3 or 4 exact comps is a challenge in many markets. And as a result, most people don't know what their house is going to sell for. You don't know. So my plan right now has been to list it what I think it's worth and then listen to the market. If you get a ton of traffic, then the price will naturally bid up to what it's worth. If you don't get anything, then obviously you priced it too high. So instead of playing the old game of marking it up to mark it down, I've moved away from that strategy in this market because coming up with comps is so difficult. So again, I would price it what I think it would. What I think it's worth, and then listen to the marketplace. Back in pre-2020, 2018, 2019, 2017, if I had a 3-bedroom Cape in Plymouth, I had comps out the wazoo for how much that thing was worth. And like pricing property then was much easier. Let's just put it that way. What's this mean according to Redfin if you're a home buyer? Negotiate with sellers. It's still tough to win a home under asking price. That's true. Here in Massachusetts, sellers are still getting about 102% of original list price. But sellers have come to terms with the fact that 7+ mortgage rates are giving buyers cold feet, that homes aren't likely to attract multiple offers. I do think that's the case. As I put out yesterday on this channel, we have just seen here in Massachusetts, in less than a month, about a 20% uptick in single-family home inventory across Massachusetts and 25% uptick in condo inventory across Massachusetts just since September 1st. Just since September 1st. That is a huge uptick in inventory, proportionally speaking. We have way to go in terms of what the market would look like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we had 18,000 homes for sale in Massachusetts. Today, we have like 4,500. Yesterday, we actually had 4,412 in the morning. And then today, we actually have 4,538. We are up over 100-something homes in just one day. So it seems to me, in talking with other brokers and my agents and my clients across Massachusetts, because I'm fortunate I have 35 agents across the state, I get the sense that things have slowed down with these mortgage rates. And when you look at the data that comes out, let's just say from Case Shiller numbers that came out yesterday, I'm not super impressed with those because those are July numbers, and who really cares about July? We're living in September. It's almost October. Pumpkin spice lattes are everywhere. Not for me. I just have plain black tea. But July is wicked over, right? All right. So talking about Redfin, let's talk about Glenn Kelman. Redfin, I don't know if you know this, but Redfin's in trouble because they're a discount brokerage, and in order to run a discount brokerage, giving the cost of leads, you have to do a lot of volume. And as we just mentioned, there's not a lot of volume in the marketplace right now. So when Glenn Kelman says sees a silver lining in the sales spiral, it can't go much lower. I think Kelman is projecting. I think he's projecting. When he says it can't get much lower, I think that's actually his hope. Oh my God, it can't get much lower. I think that's what he's hoping, because it actually can get much lower. I mean, sales volume can drop even higher. It seems that, and not only that, what's maybe even worse for Redfin is it's very possible that we're moving into a territory where, for an extended period of time, in other words, years, where we just don't see the sales volume that we would normally see. So that would be structurally a real big problem for Redfin. Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman said Tuesday on CNBC that sales continue to decline. The company will need to cut costs strategically and respond to economic challenges one day at a time. Well, when you're managing a giant brokerage like Redfin and you're doing it one day at a time, that's not a good sign for Redfin. If I was a Redfin agent, that also tells me that highly likely I'm going to get squeezed soon. If I'm a Redfin agent, I've been riding this Redfin wave. The party's over. Whatever party, imagine the party's already been over, but it's definitely over now. All right, so let's move on. Very disturbing, some news out of JP Morgan. And you've been watching what the big smart money has been doing. They're protecting themselves right now against higher for longer. And we have this tweet here from Carl. You recognize him from one of the financial, what's he on Fox Business, I think. JP Morgan, we are not saying that the situation now is the same as in 2008, but signs of stress are beginning to appear. Lags are longer this time, which has resulted in complacency and broad acceptance of the soft landing, or even no landing thesis. Oh boy, that's not good. That's not good. We are not saying now that the situation is the same as 2008, but we are saying is it could get as bad as 2008. So if you had a lot of money, you're moving your risk in a way that protects you against higher interest rates. Because if you're listening to the general consensus out there, you see that a lot that's in the stock market and a lot of just in public media, in the media, that we're going to have a soft landing. The smart people out there, the people with the money, have come to the conclusion we're not going to have a soft landing, that we might be headed towards a hard landing, or maybe even worse, the worst of worst, which would be an economic slowdown, but still with inflation. That's called stagflation. That is behind door number 4, and that is the worst of all outcomes here. So there is a follow-up to this tweet, tweet number 2 here from Carl. In the past 6 months, interest rates and QT, that's tightening of the money supply, headwinds are now stronger. Valuations are also worse. Excess savings, that means in the stock market, excess savings are now gone, particularly from the lower-end consumer. That means basically any of that money that you were able to save up from the lower-end consumer, from the stimmy checks, that's gone, right? That is gone. And that consumer is starting to see car loan rates spike. Obviously, home rates spike. And all of this might result in a economic slowdown, which is actually the plan by the Fed, right? Some of the wealth effect from high stock valuations could equally quickly, let's hit show more, equally quickly disappear. I knew that word was coming, right? This is not a good sign. This is not a good sign. I've been through any number of these downturns before, as you may have as well. I can think of the first one that I was an adult for happened in the late 80s. And you could see that coming. Even then, I remember when Dukakis was running for president in 1988. And the economy had already started to slow in the spring of 88 a little bit. And I had just graduated from, I was in college, and the economy started to slow. And, I then came back from college, I remember one time, and I had to get a job. And I went down to my local town, and I just, knocked doors because I'm good at that. And, oh, boy, the same places that were hiring like a year ago, I thought I was just going to walk into town and just get a job, at the local restaurant or wherever. I just needed kind of a short-term 4-month, Mick job. And the same places that were hiring, they weren't hiring anymore. They were like, sorry, we know you. You're we know you. You grew up here, but yeah, we don't have anything for you. Yeah, that not a good look. The .com bubble, I was not really part of that, and for whatever reason, I did fairly well in the .com bubble situation. Was not really impacted by that dip in the economy that much because I was not in the .com or internet or anything at that time. I was in sales of a different type. So that was okay. But then, of course, 2008 was just a disaster for me personally. Just absolutely ugly. 2010 being the worst of all worst. Yeah, that was a bumpy ride. But I've never seen a recession forecasted like this before. Like, it is coming. These smart people that are moving billions of dollars, they know it's coming. And they just flash the warning signal. Like, hello, it's coming. Yeah, that's not a good sign. All right, so we will keep you posted. It's been great to be with you live here from our studio in Plymouth. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. Have a great day.